Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this round of the British Parliamentary Debate Competition. It is my honor to serve as your chairperson today. My name is Asti Triwahyuni, and I will be guiding you through the course of this debate session. Before we begin, I would like to introduce our adjudicators panel for this round. Joining us are 6 distinguished adjudicators. There are Robi Nugraha, Dwi Intan Widuri, Bella Tri Azifa, Kisah Cahya Kolbu, Tati Rahmawati, and Kurota Aini. Thank you for your presence and for lending your expertise in judging this debate. Now, let me introduce the teams competing in this round. Representing the opening government team, there are Andini Febrianti and Muhammad Iqbal Nur Hidayat. Followed by Shiva and Sri Cahya Tintan Fujianti as the opening opposition. On the closing government team, there are Adinda Lintang Kanasih and Resi Rahmasari. And finally, from the closing opposition, we have Faisal Hafiz and Hana Naila Putri. Each team consists of 2 speakers who will deliver speech lasting a maximum of 7 minutes. The motion for this round is, this House regrets the rising popularity of Korean culture among Indonesian youth. Once again, the motion is, this House regrets the rising popularity of Korean culture among Indonesian youth. All debaters are expected to argue either or against this motion based on their assigned positions. Allow me to briefly explain the rules and procedures of this British parliamentary debate. Its speakers will be given 7 minutes to deliver their speech. There will be protected time in the first and the last minutes of each speech, during which point of information or POI may not be overt. POI are allowed after the first minute and before the 6th minute. Time signals will be provided at the first minute, the 6th minute, and the 7th minute, marking the end of the speech. Without further ado, let us commence the debate. I now invite the Prime Minister from the opening government bench to deliver the first constructive speech of the debate. Time is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable adjudicators and esteemed members of the House, as the Prime Minister in today's debate, I stand firmly in support of the motion this House regrets the rising popularity of Korean culture among Indonesian youth. Let me begin by clarifying our stance. We are not here to vilify Korea, nor we are opposed to cultural exchange in a globalized world. We understand that cultural interaction can be enriching, but what we regret is the overwhelming dominance of Korean pop culture, especially in the form of K-pop, K-drama, and Korean fashion that is now shaping the value, behavior, and identity of Indonesian youth in profoundly problematic ways. We believe the rising dominance leads to the erosion of local cultural identity and the promotion of unrealistic beauty and lifestyle standards that are mentally and socially demanding. Culture is more than art and entertainment. It is a vessel of value, a sense of belonging, and an expression of national pride. But today, we are witnessing a worrying trend, cultural disconnection among Indonesian youth. With the rise of K-pop and K-drama, many young people are no longer consuming or participating in local cultural expression. Instead of listening to Indonesian folk or contemporary music, they are obsessed with Korean idol groups. Instead of wearing batik or supporting local fashion, they mimic Korean streetwear. Instead of attending local culture events, they binge watch drama set in Seoul and learn to speak Korean. This isn't just harmless fandom, this is a systematic replacement of local engagement with foreign consumption. Let me give you a real data. According to a 2022 study by Nielsen and the Indonesian Ministry of Communication, 13 until 25 years old in Indonesia spend over 70% of their media time engaging with Korean content. The Ministry of Education and Culture in the same year found that only 27% of teenagers had attended any local cultural performance within the past year, down from over 40% just 5 years ago. This trend is alerting. The more Korean culture dominates, the more local culture is seen as an old-fashioned, irrelevant, or even embarrassing. This leads to cultural inferiority, a belief that our own heritage isn't worth celebrating. And this is dangerous because once young people lose touch with their culture, they lose a part of their identity. They become more susceptible to cultural conformity, more dependent on foreign trends, and less rooted in national pride. This is not just aesthetic, this is ideological. And that is why we deeply regret it. In the other hand, Korean pop culture projects as a highly cultured, highly artificial standard of perfection. K-pop idols are presented as flawless, pale skin, sharp jawlines, large eyes, impossibly slim figures, and perfectly styled hair. Their traits are not only rare, they are undeniable for most people, especially for Indonesians who come from a very different genetic and cultural background. But for teenagers who are still forming their sense of self, this content exposure to one singular image of beauty creates pressure. They begin to compare themselves to idols who are groomed, trained, edited, and in many cases. What's the result? A 2020 study by the University of Indonesia showed that nearly half of young K-pop fans, especially girls, report low self-esteem and dissatisfaction with their bodies. Dermatologists and cosmetic clinics report rising demand for treatment aimed at mimicking Korean facial features despite the cost, risk, and long-term health effect. Isn't just a case of teenagers being insecure. This is a mental health crisis. Cultural administration has turned into self-rejection. It creates a belief that I am not good enough unless I look or act Korean. And it's not limited to looks. The lifestyle idealists in Korean dramas, luxurious shopping, romanticized toxic relationships, and elite urban living creates material and emotional expectations that are completely disconnected from the realities of Indonesian youth. So, what do we get? Insecurity, anxiety, debt, and in some cases, depression. This is not the cause of fandom, this is the cause of idealizing an unreachable ideal, and for that, we must express deep regret. Ladies and gentlemen, this motion is not about closing our doors to the world, but about recognizing when external influence becomes internal harm. We are not rejecting Korean culture, we are rejecting its dominate over our youth identities, value, and self-worth. This trend is erasing our local culture, replacing pride with shame. It is promoting unrealistic ideals that harm self-esteem. And it is pulling Indonesian youth away from their roots mentally, cultural, and emotionally. For all this reason, we are proud to propose. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister, for opening the debate. Now, to respond to the government case and to present the opposition stance, I would like to call upon the leader of the opposition. The time is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable adjudicators and fellow debaters, we from the opening opposition strongly disagree with the motion this House regrets the rising popularity of Korean culture among Indonesian youth. When the country, we believe that this cultural phenomenon brings positive impacts on our youth creativity, education, and global awareness. Before we move on to our main argument, let us first respond to several points raised by the opening government. First, regarding their point about Korean culture eroding local cultural identity. Enjoying K-pop doesn't mean regretting our roots. Many youths still wear batik, join traditional events, and even mix Korean style and local styles. Instead of blaming Korean culture, we should make local culture more appealing and accessible. Second, they argue that Korean culture promotes unrealistic beauty standards. Unrealistic beauty ideals exist anywhere, not just in Korean media. Rather than blaming K-culture, we should teach media literacy and self-acceptance. In fact, much Korean content promotes self-care and confidence, which many fans find empowering. This argument, while understandable, are too one-sided. Now, let us explain why Korean culture brings real benefits to Indonesian youth. The first reason why we believe the rising popularity of Korean culture should not be regretted is because it inspires youth creativity and productivity. Korean culture, especially music, dramas, and fashion, motivates young Indonesians to explore their creative side. Many join dance cover groups, create fan art or fan fiction, edit K-pop videos, or sell merchandise. These are not passive hobbies. They build real skills like teamwork, video editing, design, marketing, and public speaking. A 2024 study from Erlangga University shows that K-pop fans in Indonesia develop digital skills and creative confidence through content creation and event planning. K-pop even inspires small businesses and collaboration. This proves Korean culture pushes youth to express themselves and be productive in a digital world. Secondly, Korean culture also promotes language learning, cultural understanding, and global awareness. The popularity of Korean drama and K-pop has encouraged many Indonesian youth to learn Korean. This has led to an increase in language skill, not just in Korea, but also in English, since much Korean content is consumed with English subtitles. A study from International Journal of Korean Science Research and Review 2024 found that over 80% of Gen Z K-pop fans in Indonesia are motivated to learn Korean, not just for fun, but also to connect with the culture and pursue education or careers. Beyond language, many youth become curious about Korean tradition, values, and even education. Some even apply for scholarship to study in Korea. They learn about different perspectives, work ethics, and social norms, which can broaden their worldview. In a global era, this kind of awareness is valuable. It prepares you to connect and grow internationally. So, we believe the rising popularity of Korean culture is not harmful, but beneficial. It supports youth creativity, learning, and global awareness. Rather than regretting it, we should embrace and guide it. So, we proudly oppose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Leader of the Opposition. Next, I invite the Deputy Prime Minister to continue the case from the opening government bench. The time is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable adjudicators, and all members of this House. As a deputy of the Prime Minister, I am here to support this motion. The Prime Minister of this opening government has outlined the main harms of this phenomenon. First, the erosion of local cultural identity, and the second, the promotion of unrealistic beauty and lifestyle standards that are mentally and socially harmful. In my speech, I will further elaborate on this point by providing real-life examples and concrete evidence. Ladies and gentlemen, let us begin with the first point, the erosion of local cultural identity. The dominance of Korean culture is causing Indonesian youth to lose touch with their own local heritage. This isn't just about enjoying dramas or listening to music. It's about how Korean culture shapes the preference, value, and even the sense of pride of young generation. Korean is becoming more popular to learn than local language. Traditional dance are seen as outdated, while K-pop dance are viewed as cool. Moreover, people prefer watching K-drama over local performance like wayang kulit, leading to the decline in the younger generation in hurting this tradition. So, according to Kumparan, April 2025, 82% of Gen Z in Indonesia are more familiar with K-pop songs than with traditional songs, and 72% admit they are more interested in learning Korean than in mastering local language like Japanese Chromo. A 2024 survey by IDN Times found that around 70% of Gen Z dancers in Lampung prefer modern or contemporary dance classes, including K-pop dance, while only 30% are interested in traditional dance. Additionally, Bandung Post January 2024 reported that 40% of Gen Z in Bandung are highly enthusiastic about K-pop dance. And then, from IDN Times, also highlights that K-pop shows are significantly more popular than traditional performance like Wayang Kulit. K-pop concerts are always sold out and trending on social media, while Wayang Kulit shows are increasingly rare and unpopular among Indonesian youth. Culture is not just entertainment, it is heritage, identity, and foundation of national character. When our youth admire Korea more than they appreciate their own cultural roots, our national identity is under serious threat. And next, the second point, the promotion of unrealistic beauty and lifestyle standards that are mentally socially harmful. Korean culture promotes beauty standards that are unrealistic and potentially harmful to the health of young Indonesian youth. The Korean entertainment industry consistently presents an ideal image: a slim face, fair and flawless skin, and skinny body. This image has become a benchmark of beauty among many Indonesian teenagers. As the result, many feel pressured to undergo plastic surgery or engage in extreme dieting to match this unrealistic standard. For the evidence, according to the International Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgery 2023, about 1 in 5 South Korean women have undergone plastic surgery. This culture has started to spread to Indonesia, as seen is the increasing number of teenagers visiting beauty clinics. Many Indonesian teens now follow extreme diets, such as eating one egg and only consuming the water. They see this method as acceptable ways to achieve an ideal body. However, this practice poses serious risks to both physical and mental health, according to Korea Herald 2022. At its core, the culture should uplift self-worth, not destroy it. When young people begin to hate their own bodies because of foreign culture influence, this is no longer just a trend, it becomes a real psychological danger. And once again, we want to emphasize that we are not against foreign culture, but we cannot stand by silently while foreign influence erodes our national identity, damages the self-esteem of our youth. We support balanced globalization, not the dominance of a single culture. For this all, we strongly propose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Prime Minister. Now, I call upon the Deputy Leader of the Opposition to extend and defend the case from the opening opposition. The time is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable adjudicators and fellow debaters, as the second speaker of the opening opposition, I am here to reinforce our stance that the rising popularity of Korean culture among Indonesian youth should not be regretted. Our first speaker showed how Korean culture encourages creativity and builds global awareness. I want to emphasize that these effects are not theoretical. They are happening right now. A 2023 study by the Center for Digital Society at Universitas Gadjah Mada found that Indonesian K-pop fans often become content creator, small business owner, or event organizer, showing that Korean culture pulls youth to be more productive, not passive. For example, many young people have opened online shops selling Korean merchandise, fan-made art, or skincare products inspired by Korean trends. They learn marketing, digital design, and customer service using platforms like TikTok and Shopee. These are real-world skill and economic activities that start from cultural interests. What's something more interesting, many Indonesian youth now combine Korean pop style with traditional elements, such as remixing K-pop dance routines with traditional instruments like angklung and kendang, creating a fresh mix that honors both global and local elements. Moreover, Korean culture promotes learning and global awareness. A 2024 study from 11 Mart University found that Indonesian fans are more motivated to study Korean and English after seeing idols speak multiple languages. A research article in journal Centuries in 2023 also show how Korean drama and music spark interest in Korean values and social issues. But this doesn't not mean forgetting Indonesian heritage. In fact, many cultural clubs now use Korean pop events to attract youth before introducing them to traditional art form. This strategy helps reconnect youth with their roots in a way they find more engaging. Now, let me add a third argument. Korean culture trends create economic opportunities. The influence of Korean fashion, skincare, and entertainment has helped global local industries in Indonesia. Many Indonesian skincare brands now create products inspired by Korean beauty concept, but adapted to local ingredients like rice, tamarind, or herbal extract. According to a 2024 market report from Statista, Indonesian skincare market is expected to exceed $2 billion by 2027, driven in part by this Korean-inspired demand. In addition, young entrepreneurs are launching cosmetic brands, creating YouTube content, and running local clinics using modern branding with local flavor. K-pop concerts and fan events in cities like Jakarta and Surabaya also support local vendors, food stalls, and merchandise business. Instead of harming our identity, Korean culture become a bridge reconnecting local creativity with global demand. So in conclusion, rather than regretting the rise of Korean culture, we should recognize how it supports creativity, education, and economic opportunity. It doesn't replace Indonesian identity, it gives young people new tools to express that identity in a global world. That is why we proudly oppose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Leader of the Opposition. We now move to the closing government bench. I would like to invite the member of the government to present their extension. The time is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable adjudicators, and everyone in this room. As the first speaker for the closing government, I strongly stand with the motion, this House regrets the rising popularity of Korean culture among Indonesian youth. The opening government has already shown how this trend damages our cultural identity and creates harmful beauty standard. My role today is to extend this argument by explaining how it also creates unfair consumerism, divided young people based on their economic status, and weakness our local economy. Moving on to the next argument, the popularity of Korean culture is not merely a matter of personal preference or cultural appreciation. It also fosters harmful consumerism, deepens social divides, and undermines the Indonesian economy. The rise of K-pop, Korean fashion, and related product has created a culture of spending among Indonesian youth. Young people are now driven to purchase expensive Korean cosmetic, fashion, and merchandise to fit in and appear modern. This behavior leads to a mindset that prioritizes imported goods over local product and social status over genuine self-expression. It is no longer about cultural curiosity, it is about a race to be seen as part of an exclusive global trend. This brings us to a deeper concern, exclusivity. Korean culture and its associated products are often expensive, accessible primarily to those from wealthier backgrounds. This creates a profound class divide. Young people from lower income families feel excluded and inferior because they cannot afford to participate in these trends. Rather than fostering unity, the dominance of Korean culture intensifies inequality among Indonesian youth. Moreover, this consumerist trend weakens our domestic economy. Money that could support local artists, small businesses, and the creative economy flows instead to foreign industries. Local creators struggle to compete against the global marketing power of Korean brands. This undermines not only the livelihood of local entrepreneurs, but also the broader cultural identity and pride that come from supporting homegrown talent. This is not harmless trend. It is a cycle of consumption and social pressure that leaves our youth financially strained, emotionally divided, and disconnected from their own culture. For all these reasons, we in the closing government firmly regret the rising popularity of Korean culture among Indonesian youth. Thank you.
Thank you, the member of the government. Next, I call upon the member of the opposition from the closing opposition to deliver their extension. The time is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we have been requested to discuss the idea about the House regrets the rising popularity of Korean culture among Indonesian youth, but we must presuppose the loss of something valuable. Our case is that nothing is lost, but something powerful is produced. This cultural phenomenon is not about destroying Indonesian cultural identity. It has to do with the youth experimenting, changing, reinterpreting their culture, and giving it new form that have new meanings to them. And it is via this point what Korean culture represented and continues to represent as a potential threat has been turned into a tool and thus a platform by which the Indonesian youth can find a means of expressing themselves in a modern global world. It is upon this reason that we are strongly opposed to this motion. The rising popularity of the Korean culture does not even lead to a cultural loss, but it leads to a cultural mixing or fusion, this allowing young Indonesians to infuse the global influence to their local traits. And by doing so, they don't abandon their roots, they strengthen them. Sure, sometimes people want to keep their cultures as it should be, but culture is not a museum piece to be preserved behind a glass. It needed to be free in order to evolve and adapt to the new environment so it can stay alive. Korean culture offers is not a replacement, it's an inspiration for the Indonesian youth to create something entirely new on their own. As youngsters consume new cultural products such as Korean fashion or food, they do not simply become Korean. Instead, these youngsters interpret these impacts through their own social and cultural perspective. It is an indication of agency rather than inferiority. And why do we think that by liking K-pop or Korean drama, why do we assume that when we like K-pop or K-drama, we automatically reject our national identity? The fact is that these cultural products initiate curiosity and innovativeness. They urge the youth to experiment not only with what they are consuming, but what they are capable of creating. They begin to think, how can I make this mine? And that question, ladies and gentlemen, is the start of a cultural evolution. All cultures in the world have always developed by a means of contact, whether it comes from trade, migration, or media. Indonesia alone is a mixing pot of several countries for cultural exchange. And nowadays, the inspiration is occurring via digital media, and Indonesian young people were carrying on that tradition of adaptation. We can see how these Korean trends are adapted in real life. Young people are blending Korean streetwear with local materials and modest fashion. You will find batik jackets styled with Korean blazers. From the news articles antaranews.com on October 2021, Indonesia launched a fashion show in Korea and held by the South Korean Embassy for Indonesia. We're combining batik with hanbok, a South Korea's traditional clothing. This event created optimistic, creative works for the youth to create an immersive fashion without abandoning their Indonesian cultural roots, but redefining the modern Indonesian identity. In food, Korean dishes are reimagined with Indonesian taste. Based on the article by Teguh Pratama Aditya and Rosa Zafrina Sabargunat in 2023, the Indonesian youngsters have accepted the Korean colonial trends, not imitating them, but interpreting in the context of domestic flavors. Dishes like tteokbokki, kimbap, bulgogi, and being sold widely with adjustments such as additional sambal, Indonesian rendang, vegetable, and halal certified ingredients to adjust to the Indonesian standard and taste. The paper observed that the trend has increased new culinary enterprises in Indonesia, as local entrepreneurs are modifying Korean dishes, still making them culturally suitable to the Indonesians. Instead of displacing the local food culture, the Korean food has given rise to inventive hybrids, which bear the distinctive identity of the young generation of Indonesians. What does all this imply then? What it means is that the emergence of Korean culture in Indonesia is not an indicator of decaying culture. It's an indicator of a vibrant culture. Our young people are not inactive consumers being overwhelmed by alien side. They are participants. They are missing, remaking, and transforming what they get. This is not a cultural collapse. This is cultural confidence. It is why we are proud to object to this motion, not only to uphold the Korean culture, but uphold the right of young Indonesians to make a modern, blended, and proudly local identity to the global world. Thank you.
Thank you, member of the opposition. Now, I invite the government whip to deliver the final speech from the government side. The time is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable adjudicators and everyone in these rooms, this debate is not about banning Korean culture or telling people what they can and cannot enjoy. It's about asking, what's the impact when one foreign cultures become so popular and it starts changing how young Indonesians see themselves, their identity, and even how they can spend their money. Let's talk about the real issue. This is not just about watching K-dramas or K-pop. This is about how the overwhelming popularity of Korean culture is affecting our youth mentally, culturally, and economically. What our side has shown, our opening government explained two big harms. First, local culture is being left behind. Seen as old-fashioned or uncool, and unrealistic beauty standards make young people feel insecure and even push them toward cosmetic change. We, in closing government, add a new layer, the economic impact. We talk about how young people spend more and more just to follow the trends, from Korean skincare to merch. How this hurts local business and makes us dependent on foreign products. And how this trend builds a mindset that say, local isn't good enough. Then closing opposition say, this is cultural blending, but wearing batik with Korean fashion doesn't mean we're saving local culture. It's just using our culture as a side dish, not the main course. That's not blending, that's losing control of our own local narrative. Ladies and gentlemen, as the second speaker of closing government, I'll show you why our side wins this debate. First, our opening government has explained how Korean culture negatively affects youth identity and self-image. But our team, closing government, adds a deeper, long-term harm consumerism. Young people pushed to overspend on Korean products, hurting their financial well-being and weakening the local economy. That's not just cultural pressure, it's economic harm. What makes our extension powerful is that it shows how the obsession doesn't just affect individuals, it affects business, families, and the creative industry in Indonesia. The opposition talks about cultural blending, but this blending still depends on the Korean dominance. It's not the true fashion if local culture is just a decoration to Korean trends. That's why the government bench wins. Opening government show the cultural harm, and we show the economic consequence. Together, we offer a full picture of why this rising trend is harmful. For this reason, we are proud to propose. So, no, we're not rejecting global culture, but when it starts to replace who we are, pressure our youth, and hurt our
industry, then yes, we absolutely regret it. That's why we as the closing government are proud to support this motion. Thank you. Thank you, Government Whip. Finally, to close the debate, I call upon the opposition whip to deliver the last page of the round. The time is yours.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable adjudicators and fellow debaters, this debate is not about banning Korean culture or rejecting global trends. It is about whether we should regret its rising popularity among Indonesian youth. And we, on the opposition bench, especially from closing opposition, believe the answer is a firm no. What the government sees as cultural loss, we see as cultural evolution. What they call danger, we call opportunity. And what they fear as domination, we see as inspiration, driven not by foreign control, but by local creativity. One of the biggest concerns raised by the government is that Korean cultures make young people abandon their tradition. Closing government even argues that local culture has become a side dish to Korean trends. But here's where our team, Closing Opposition, make a unique contribution. We are the only team that explain how young Indonesians are not just defending their culture, they are reshaping it. We show how Korean culture become a canvas, not to erase tradition, but to highlight it in new ways. Look at how they wear Korean-style makeup with batik or kebaya, or adapt Korean fashion while wearing hijab. Some mix local food with Korean trends, from tteokbokki with sambal or rendang flavored Korean chicken, or any Korean food with Indonesian taste. These are not acts of imitation. They are acts of creation. These are not examples of cultural loss. They are examples of cultural blending, proudly posted and celebrated online by Indonesian youth. What's happening here is not cultural domination, but cultural innovation. Young people are not losing their identity. They are recreating it in ways that feel modern, expressive, and authentic. The government frames this losing control of the narrative. We argue this is how you take control of the narrative, by reshaping it with your own hands, not rejecting what the world offers. Another important point raised by the government is about beauty standards and mental health. Yes, Korean media promotes certain beauty ideals, but as opposition pointed out, young people are not passive. They don't just accept everything they see. They engage, they filter, and often admire idols not for their looks, but for their productivity, consistency, and even creativity. Our leader opposition explained how key culture encourages self-expression through dance cover, video editing, and designing. These are forms of active engagement, not passive obsession. And many youth gain confidence through this. They build digital skills, manage their time, and learn teamwork, not because they want to look like an idol, but because they're inspired by how idols work hard to reach their goals. More importantly, the government reduces our youth passive followers. We say the opposite. They are critically engaged. They choose to follow, to adapt, and to reject. If beauty pressure exists, the solution is media literacy, not cultural rejection. The government also brought up the issue of economic impact. They say youth are overspending, hurting local businesses, and becoming dependent on foreign products. But here's what they miss. Young people aren't just consumers. They are creators, they are entrepreneurs and business owners. As the deputy leader of opposition already explained, Korean culture actually opens new economic doors. Young people open key-style cafes or run online shops or becoming content creators. They learn marketing, they learn branding and entrepreneurship, all from a trend that sparked their interest. This is not economic harm, it's economic empowerment. And it's areas where traditional jobs are limited, this creative path over real financial opportunity. So why does closing opposition win this debate? Because we are the only team that first explain how Korean culture is not replacing, but blending with Indonesian identity. Second, we demonstrate demonstrated real-world example of cultural adaptation from fashion to food. And thus, we frame this trend as cultural growth, not cultural loss. And so, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, this is not a story of cultural regret. It's a story of how young Indonesians take global trends and make them their own, with confidence, with creativity, and pride in their roots. For these reasons, we proudly oppose this motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Opposition Whip. Thank you to all speakers for your insightful and engaging arguments. That concludes the debate for this round. The next is feedback from the adjudicators. Start from the Tati Rahmawati to give feedback to opening government.
Okay, good evening, debaters. First of all, I want to congratulate all speakers from the government and opposition for delivering your speeches with confidence and passion. And then, as an adjudicators, I will now provide my feedback, especially for the opening government bench, which consists of the Prime Minister and the Deputy Prime Minister. To the Prime Minister, your speech was very well structured and persuasive. You opened with a clear clarification of the motion and framed your case strongly by emphasizing that this is not about rejecting Korean culture entirely, but about regretting its dominance. Your two main arguments, the erosion of local culture and the unrealistic beauty standards, were explained clearly and supported with relevant data. And then you also use emotionally compelling language like cultural administration has turned into self-rejection, which made your message resonate more deeply. But one small note is your pace was a bit fast at times, which made it slightly harder to follow actually. And then for the Deputy Prime Minister, you did a great job reinforcing the two main harms introduced by the Prime Minister. Your additional real-life examples such as the comparison statistic made the arguments feel more relatable and urgent. Most notably, your third argument about the influence of Korean culture on social norms such as clothing and dating behavior add good strategic depth to the case. It widened the scope of the impact and was supported with strong local studies. You are also able to explain the real-life consequences clearly, such as the shift in dating behavior and pressure to conform to fashion trends that clash with local values. But your delivery had quite a few fillers like and which affected clarity. Also, some words were hard to catch due to pronunciation. So, a small suggestion for both speakers: be careful not to overgeneralize. Try to acknowledge that not all youth are equally affected and that many still appreciate local culture. So, this would make your arguments more balanced and harder to rebut. Thank you.
Okay, I am Dwayne Tanwidori. I will give feedback for closing government. For the speaker of closing government one, you presented an extension with three more points: consumerist culture, social inequality among youth, and local economic impacts. This adds a new dimension to what opening government brought. However, the distinction from opening government is not yet clear. You need to emphasize what did opening government miss and what are you adding. Your argument is fairly strong, but it could be more convincing if supported by concrete examples. And for speaker of closing government two, your argument was presented neatly and structurally. You successfully unified the team's arguments by emphasizing the importance of closing government extension, and you effectively attack closing opposition argument on cultural blending. Your framing is strong. You position closing government as the theme that provides the most comprehensive picture. Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback. Now we move to feedback for all government side.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. I am Kisah Chayakolbu as your adjudicators. So my feedback to the government bench, first is for the opening government. The opening government laid down a strong foundation. Start with two main arguments such as erodes local culture identity and promote unrealistic beauty and lifestyle standard. But I see the deputy didn't fully capitalize on that to elevate the bench overall impact. Instead of advancing the logical depth, it felt more like additional evidence was added without substantial new layer for reasoning. Also, the data is, I wondering, your data is it accurate? And for the prime minister, while your evidence was strong, your reasoning could be further strengthened. At times, the transition from observation to conclusion felt too absurd. For example, you said because people prefer K-drama, local culture will die out. It would be stronger if followed by deeper analysis. Next, for the closing government, the closing government stayed relevant to the opening government's argument and contribute a meaningful extension by introducing the economic impact of Korean culture influence such as harmful consumerism, class divide, and the weakening of local industries. This was a value and important addition to to this debate. Overall, closing government added a new layer to the government bench, but to be more impactful, the argument needed stronger logical link and clearer causal explanation. Like you have to make the reason to strengthen your evidence. Like what makes this economic harmful? I still wondering it was a commendable effect to move the debate forward. Uh, Overall, I ask you to build your confidence and fluency. Don't speak too fast and don't speak too small. And watch your misspelling. Thank you.
Good evening, all. As an educator in the evening there, I would like to give some data points on the argument presented by opening opposition. For the first speaker, you gave a good and courageous performance as the first speaker from the opposition. Your arguments were clear, well-structured, and supported by relevant data. I appreciate how you directly responded to the government's points with logical reasoning and successfully turned their narrative around. Your speech had a good structure from the opening to the conclusion. However, your speaking style lacked firmness, and your voice was not loud enough to strongly refute the opposing arguments. If you can manage your volume or intonation better and be more expressive in delivering your arguments, it will help you perform even better. So, for the second speaker, you delivered a very neat, confident, and professional performance as the second speaker. Your arguments were comprehensive, strong, and highly relevant to the topic. You not only reinforced the points made by the previous speaker, but also add an important new point, economic opportunities. The data and real-life example you provide made your argument even more credible. Your speaking style was clear and expressive, your voice was loud and firm, and your delivery was easy to understand. The structure of your speech was also very organized and easy to follow. Thank you.
Thank you for the feedback. Now we move to feedback for closing opposition.
Okay, thank you so much. I'm here. I'm going to evaluate closing opposition that conclude that there are whip opposition and member of the opposition. First is member of opposition. Opposition. As a judge, I think the member of opposition gave a clear and confident speech, and the speaker showed that the Korean culture help Indonesia youth be creative and proud of their identity. The real life example is also really good, like batik and Korea style and blending will become a new culture that don't omitting the root of culture, and the message was positive, and I think overall it was solid and persuasive performance, but there are some minus point that the speech is really fast, and I think it will be better if your speech get more slowly and more clear. And next is opposition whip. As a judge, I find that opposition whip speech clear and competent and well delivered. They show that Korean culture helps Indonesia youth express themselves creatively and not replace their identity. And the example is really relevant, and the message is also strong. And while some points could be differ, overall it was persuasive and impactful speech. But I will remember again that the speech is really fast, and it will be better if your speech more slow and clear. And thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for the opportunity. So I'm Bellatrix Azifas, the adjudicator, and I'm here to give the feedback for opposition bench. So the opposition bench can clear stance from the start, which is you guys can effectively argue that the popularity of Korean culture should be embraced and not regretted. And for the opening, the opposition bench delivered a consistent and well-developed case against these motions, and you guys also provided the clear structure with argument that focused on the several fields, and it also supported by the data. And for the closing, you guys can add a valuable depth with the different framing, and it feels very unique, and I'm so amazed with you guys, and you can very persuasive to convey the argument, and then your contribution rounded out the opposition case effectively. But still there is some issues with the opposition teams, which is they are uh, lack of confidence and projections, and also the minor language errors, like I recognize you guys there is misspelling, and also the pace of your talking is too fast and too weak, and your voice is too weak. And then the suggestions is maybe you can try to practice more about the voice projections, and also the don't forget to work on the pronunciations, and also the grammar accuracy, and manage the pacing. Don't be too rushed through the key point. And overall, the opposition band successfully elaborate these motions.
Okay, for all educators, thank you for the feedbacks. Now, the educators will take a few moments to deliberate and determine the rankings. We kindly ask everyone to remain quiet during this time.
Okay, after carefully considering all teams, we are all, the adjudicators, nominated opening opposition as the winner for this debate. Additionally, opening opposition brought clear reasoning and strong comparative analysis, provide logical and well-structured rebuttal, especially by questioning the causal link between Korean culture popularity and the decline of local culture. Okay, give applause.
Okay, now I will inform you guys the best speaker of this debate. So, after much considerations, we choose this person as the best speaker because this person have strong and confident sound and argument, and also this person can successfully elaborate the overall argument. So, the best speaker for this debate is Sri Tintan Cahya Pujian. Give applause.
Congratulations to all teams for your excellence, performance, and participation. Let's give them all a big round of applause. Thank you.